Video Memories Network is brought to you in part by Liberated Syndication, podcast publishing made easy, libsyn.com. That's libsyn.com.
Welcome to the Old Time Radio Network Detective Stories, continuing America's love affair with private eyes. We now go back to the early days of radio and our imaginations with our feature presentation.
Are you awake?
I am always awake.
I must leave soon.
You must always leave.
The nature of our transaction.
You make me sound like a whore.
Oh, my dear lady, the last thing I intend.
Our time in Italy bred an appetite.
A hot night breeds more, eh?
So unusual for Edinburgh. The heat.
Perhaps we brought it back. I should go.
I have a constant hunger.
Cara mia, I have my duties.
Then go. Discharge them.
I desire something.
What might that be?
I granted you a favour. I wish a favour in return.
Ask.
Innocence. So hard to prove. One must be steeped in guilt to find its opposite. I need the help of such a person.
Is it me you're suggesting?
No, quite another.
The name. You're right, he is quite another. It will not be easy.
Oh, to Jean Brash, all things are possible.
It will cost.
I am ready to pay the price.
Why? So you are. But I thought you had your duties to perform.
Oh, they can wait.
The weather is out of joint. A heat wave has struck, like a Carmathian assassin. Some sort of continental climate has invaded our east coast. The skin sticks with sweat, the collar bites the neck, and idle sensuality lurks on every street corner. Emotions rise to the surface like wanton salmon chasing a fat, buttery fly. Mulholland and his fishing are muddling up my mind. I am James McCleavey, Inspector of Police. I must stay calm, but I am not happy. Some like the heat, but I prefer the clarity of a cold east wind just in off the sea. We need that breeze to shift the malodorous emissions which emanate from every quarter of Leith, my parish in the city of Edinburgh. No wind. The stink is solid. These thoughts slide through my mind as Constable Mulholland and I listen to Lieutenant Roach blather on about a visit he has made to the Haymarket station, invited by a fellow officer, also no doubt a fellow mason. The invite proposed, I am certain, at some lodge meeting, where the heat gave them all an excuse to roll up their trouser legs.
Sandy Bell could hardly keep the smirk from his face. There was I, mouth open, looking at his station. It was impeccable, impeccable, McCleavey.
Perhaps the lieutenant has a neat mind, sir.
Were it not for his wife, Lieutenant Bell would resemble a haystack. No, it is not he who runs the Haymarket like a ship of the line. It is his inspector, McCleavey.
Adam Dunsmore.
The same, young, thrusting, mindful of his superiors, and above all, organised. Everywhere I looked, clean lines.
The sharp hook catches the big pike.
What? No, all this has opened my eyes to our own condition. It reflects the inner man, McCleavey. It is a mess, a guddle. We cannot work in a guddle.
The chaos is only apparent, sir. Behind it is a harmony of purpose.
It is a mess.
It serves justice.
It may serve even better by the imposition of some order.
Clean lines, sir.
Exactly, Constable. Ship shape, McCleavey. That's the word I want to see this station. Ship shape.
Aye, sir.
I know you can never reach the standard of Adam Dunsmore, but try to rise above yourself, McCleavey, for once in your life. Try to rise above yourself.
Adam Dunsmore. From Paisley, for God's sake.
What's wrong with Paisley?
Everything. And what about you? Sooking up?
There was no such thing.
clean lines.
I was trying to deflect his attention.
You were sooking up.
A letter for you.
A letter for you, sir.
Sir, hand delivered, sir.
Miller, your collar button's undone.
So is yours,
That's
sir.
not the point. Do it up.
But I'm sweltering.
Do what the inspector says.
Right.
Not a postcard, then.
What?
Murdoch was telling, you've been asking after a postcard these past weeks.
Is that so?
From abroad, he said. You said.
You see this envelope?
Yes?
Does it have your name upon it?
No?
Then I shall read it. In private. Find a broom. Sweep all before you. Sook, sook. Go away, Mulholland! Let's see.
McLeavy, an innocent lamb is being led to the slaughter. Justice will cut its poor wee throat. Look down at your boots. They are stained with its blood. Not too much, Hannah. You'll drown them.
Plants canna drown. They just rot.
You see, Inspector, while in Italy... Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to send you a postcard.
I had no expectation.
But you were curious if I had a cara mia.
A what?
Italian, a lover. You were curious.
Was I?
And I was to put it on the card.
Were you?
But I was so engrossed, I forgot. Anyway, while I was there, Hannah shamefully neglected my roses.
That's them saturated.
You may retire now, Hannah.
May I? Good. I'm drookit with sweat. Watch out for the wasps, McLeavy. They like sweet blood.
I wonder how I put up with that woman.
You keep a body hoose, Jean Brash. She keeps your keys. Now, what's all this blether about lambs?
When my shoes need mending, I gang to the one cobbler, Douglas Munro, the shoemaker in Fountain Close, a proud but poor craftsman.
Like yourself.
Exactly. In 10 years' custom, I've watched his son James grow to a handsome young man. Quiet, civil, gentle.
He chose a strange profession. Flesher's assistant in the Haymarket.
Aye, class shop. Jeremiah Crichton, the butcher,
Whose wife was murdered scarce a week ago.
just before the heat struck.
What is this to do with me?
They have James marked up for the murder.
It's Haymarket business.
It's Leith business. That boy grew up paddling his feet in Paddocky Burn, and I believe him to be innocent.
A matter for the police.
This card. An advocate, Lewis Spencer.
Spencer? He's no sma drink.
He will represent the boy if it comes to trial. He knows all the facts.
Why should I bother my head?
For the sake of justice.
You spend your life avoiding it. Haymarket is not my parish.
The investigating officer is Adam Dunsmore. He does not care for you.
Indeed.
In a pub the other night, he was making fun of Leith Station, like a midden, he said. And you, the chief midden man. He had a name
A name?
for you. He called you...
What?
I have witnesses.
What did he call me?
Auntie Beanie.
Auntie Beanie.
What's she doing with that veil? She's certainly knowing mourning.
I told you to tidy the floor in here. What's going on?
Nothing.
Give me those photos. Give me.
Found them lying in the street.
I'll wager.
Face down.
This is perverted.
What is?
That woman is wearing a fishing hat.
With a big pole.
Constable Baxter, you're too young for this sort of exposure. Get out. Well?
I found them in the street.
I don't buy the markets, I'll wager.
The very place.
What are they doing with that snake?
I was trying to work that out.
Mulholland, where... Is that an anaconda?
I'm not sure, sir.
This is smut, Mulholland.
It is indeed, sir. I flooded the stuff recently.
We cannot have smut in... What are you grinning at, Miller?
Nothing, sir.
These are disgraceful. I'd better hold on to them. Mulholland, you get out with McCleavy and put a stop to all this. Where is he, by the way?
I don't know, sir.
Has there been a burglary in here?
At the inspector's desk.
It looks like this.
Ship shape, Mulholland. Ship shape.
Cool in here, Mr. Spencer.
Success buys thick walls.
So it would seem.
A refreshment, Inspector.
Just the facts of the crime.
To the point. Good. The butcher's shop is in a public thoroughfare. On Wednesday last, as was his custom, Jeremiah Crichton left the place at 6:30 in the evening, with young Munro and Mrs. Crichton still at work. 15 minutes later, a passerby noticed the door to the shop open, the place empty, and the form of Mrs. Crichton slumped over her accounts desk, a pool of blood before her. She had been attacked from behind, 3 savage blows to the neck.
The weapon?
Left beside her, the shop cleaver. Munro knew well how to wield that cleaver.
So did Crichton, for instance.
Mr. Crichton has a cast iron alibi. He crossed the street to meet a friend of his, Robert Summers. A minute's walk to Weir the tobacconist, where Summers bought some baccy, and thence to a nearby tavern where they sat with small ale discussing matters of the day. They were still in that tavern when the news broke.
What about Munro's alibi?
Non-existent. He claims he left the shop soon after Crichton and then wandered the streets before returning to his parents' abode, just after 10 o'clock.
10? The guy long wander. Witnesses?
None. And I cannot move him from that story.
Anything else?
Mrs. Crichton was in a delicate condition. The couple had been trying for a child for many years and had finally succeeded.
Oh dear. That your family?
What?
In the photo?
Yes, my daughters and my wife.
She doesn't work in the butcher shop.
She has never worked.
Good. Right.
The murderer was obviously known to Mrs. Crichton.
Obviously. Otherwise, why would they let them stand behind her? It does not look good.
And Crichton claims that when he left, the till was full of money.
Empty when the Haymarket arrived.
Yes. Munro is not yet arrested. The police are biding their time. They know he has nowhere to go.
In Dunsmore's place, I would do exactly the same. Keep him on tenterhooks, then when he least expects, middle of the night, out of his bed and into the cell.
I would entreat you to have words with James Munro. He hides something. Perhaps you may find out what it is.
Do you believe him innocent?
All my clients are innocent.
Very few of mine. This is out of my parish.
Yet you are here.
Your client. Munro's folks couldn't afford the likes of you. Who pays you?
Well, like yourself, I was persuaded.
Justice persuades me.
Justice? How interesting.
Spencer was as smooth as glass. But I knew his type. They give nothing for nothing. What had persuaded him? Had Jean Brash reached into her pocket, or more likely, was he one of her paying customers? The just land, her bawdy house, lay high on the hill. She catered for those in authority who found the marital bed a damp prospect. But married they were, and relied on Jean to conspire with their hunker-sliding. A mere hint to a wife, and the thunder would roll. Wheels within wheels. I could sense it. Ah, the grand hypocrisy of our civilized world. The streets were hot and stinky. Oh, for an east wind. I went in the back of the cobbler shop, lest Haymarket had men at the front. The parents seemed decent folk. I noticed the father's hands, the nails black and misshapen, but the shoes he produced were of a good quality. And what of his son? James Munro was indeed a handsome lad, fine-featured, but quiet and withdrawn. We sat in a wee back room, smelling of leather, hot as an oven. Wandered? Wandered where?
Just the streets.
For 3 hours?
That's right.
While your mistress lay bleeding?
I didn't know that.
Didn't you?
No.
Mrs. Crichton, did you like her?
She was kind to me.
Did you like the woman?
I admired her.
Was she fond of you?
She was kind.
What about him?
He was cold towards me.
He employed you?
I was her choice.
Well, you're Adam Dunsmore's choice now, and he'll wrap this murder round your neck.
Why would I harm Mrs. Crichton?
You stole money from the till.
I did not.
You chopped her down.
I did not.
Prove it.
Why do you persecute me?
Because you hide something, and I want to know what it is.
I would never harm Mrs. Crichton. I would never harm her.
He watches me all the time. The skin crawls at the back of my neck. He stands behind me. I can feel him, always watching, waiting. This should be a happy time, but I dream of blood at night, like an animal to the slaughter, hung upon the hook, with his eyes upon me, watching.
Mistress Brash.
Don't sneak up on me, Hannah.
I'll rattle my keys next time.
What is it?
A fight between two of the girls.
Who?
Big Margaret and Simone.
Over what?
A moth hole.
You deal with it.
I'll skilt their lugs.
Don't mark them.
They're already marked. Scratched, desperate.
It must be the heat.
It's no the heat. It's you.
What?
You're no here, in command. You spend your time looking out the window.
I like the view.
You have obligations, mistress.
You may go now.
I am your servant.
Cara mia, I have my duties.
I'm looking for lamb sausages.
I've sold them out.
Customer's brisk.
Very.
Murder can do that.
I know your face. McLeavy. Inspector McLeavy.
You have me, Mr. Crichton.
You are a Leith person.
Correct.
What do you want here?
Unexpected death intrigues me.
My poor wife. I mourn her deeply.
But not enough to close the shop.
Mrs. Crichton would wish it so. She departs this world to inherit the blessed crown of immortality with a gracious Saviour.
So she does. This is where she sat, eh? Good vantage point. So she watched you leave that night?
Rab Summers on to Weir the tobacconist, then the tavern for one glass of ale. I never left Rab's side. We waved goodbye to my wife. Monroe stood behind her.
You're in full view of the public here. Whoever killed her had to do it quick.
Monroe killed her.
Perhaps. A sad business, what with Mrs. Crichton being so full of life.
The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
So he does.
There is nothing for you here.
You're right. No sausages. And I have disturbed your mourning long enough.
My wife was afraid of James Monroe. She disliked him. He was aye watching her. I at her back.
Thick black. The best in Edinburgh.
I'll take a small helping.
Helping? You're no a pipe smoker, then?
My landlady enjoys a puff.
There you are, sir. No coin necessary.
Oh, yes, there is.
Well, thank you, Inspector.
You know me?
Nobody knows you.
Uh-huh. The night of the murder.
Aye?
Crichton was here?
He was indeed. Every Wednesday. Rab Summers aye takes an age to choose his Becky, and Jeremiah waits by the door like patience on a monument.
Nothing was different that evening.
Nothing. Do you take snuff, Inspector?
I do not.
I enjoy a wee sneesh.
I'll bid you good night.
There is something, though.
What?
There's 200 pinches and half an ounce. Keep count, and you'll never cheat your nose.
I am seldom cheated, Mr. Weir.
Your favourite. Spaghetti with clams.
These are cockles.
Near as I could get.
Delicious provender.
But not as good as your mamma's.
Oh, well, nothing could be.
That visit to your mother was a godsend.
I do it every year. And I have many relatives to see in Rome. I may take longer next time.
Will your wife not want to come?
Oh, she detests the place.
I love it. This seems strange.
What?
As if I have you and she takes you away. As if I am the wife. Your absences, how do you explain them?
I work late at Chambers.
When must you leave tonight?
8 o'clock.
That's early.
My father-in-law visits.
Why?
A larger house, much larger. She wants it. He will help financially.
Why move?
A larger family in prospect.
Larger?
He wants a grandson.
And you have disappointed?
So far.
What's so funny?
Our friend McLeavy. He asked me if my wife worked in a butcher's shop.
Did he now?
He is a singular person.
He is a man of honour. Unlike so many.
Deceit. I could smell it everywhere. What was young Munro hiding? It did not make sense for him to just wander the streets if he had committed the murder, unless he was in shock. Munro had a sensitivity to him. His regard for the victim seemed quite genuine. Hard to think of him as a murderer. Yet he concealed something. So, who knows? And Crichton, seemingly untouched by the death of his wife, sitting placidly in the middle of a room full of dead animals, with the heat beating on the window. Alibi or not, there was something in the blankness of his gaze. Even Willie Weir, the tobacconist, a sly wee treacherous creature. Am I making all this up just to justify another cup of coffee? I think not. So I'll have it anyway. And what about the advocate? Spencer. Clever. Smarty pants. A mummy's boy if ever I saw one. How did he connect into all this? When I was a wee laddie, I would turn over stones to see what creepy crawlies were underneath. The habit remains. Curiosity.
It killed the cat, McLeavy. A note this morning from Sandy Bell. Tell your inspector to keep his neb out of Haymarket affairs and leave innocent men alone.
Crichton must have clicked to the good Inspector Dunsmore.
How did you get involved in all this?
Auntie Beanie.
What?
What does that name mean to you, sir?
It's a decrepit old spinster, ill-dressed, old-fashioned, an object of ridicule.
My understanding as well. The heat's building up.
Where?
Everywhere.
McLeavy, I am your commanding officer. This is my order. Forget the Haymarket business, catch up with Constable Mulholland, go and find the pornographers of Leith.
I'll do that, sir. Oh, and may I commend the clean lines which are beginning to emerge in our station. Shortly my own desk will reflect that clarity.
You will sweep it all into a drawer and go your own sweet way.
Oh, you know me too well, sir.
It is my misfortune to know you at all. Now, I'm warning you, James. Stay in your own midden. Keep out of that case. This is not our murder.
The air is thick and heavy, hot. A smell of blood, evil. I sense it. A brooding, jealous evil. Now I watch him. He cleaves a lamb's neck with 3 blows. He has learned his trade well.
You look lost, sir.
Hardly recognise the place.
I have it in hand. What were you talking to the lieutenant about?
Spinsters.
I don't believe you.
Best you don't know, for your own good.
Well, if that's how you're going to be...
What about the smut pursuance?
The fly lands, the trout rises.
It was a sad day for common sense when you took up fishing, Mulholland.
The stall in the market where Miller found his nature studies.
Found?
Best you don't know. A trail of hands one to the other, but I traced it back and found the source. Chapel Street, Drummond's, a so-called respectable photographic shop.
Oh, you've done well.
You weren't there, sir.
What do you mean?
I'd have done better.
Oh. Of course, the wares will be well hidden. How do we get them,
Exposed? That's where the angler comes in.
Bait.
Exactly. Someone in desperate need.
And what sort of picture would Sir be looking for?
Something special?
Special.
Unusual. Below the belt.
And who recommended us?
A friend in the market trade.
Sir looks like a man of some discernment. I'm sure that'll be fine. Now, what are your preferences?
Preferences?
Everyone has them.
Oh, aye. Right. Whew. Boiling in here.
Terrible weather. Now, the preferences?
Something natural.
Exotic natural?
The very thing.
I think I have exactly what Sir needs. Come into the back room.
Do I have to?
Privacy is essential. One can't be too careful.
Right enough.
Now, this is flora, this is fauna, and that is exotica. We're just occupied at the back here. I'll be with you in a minute.
Sooner than that.
I'll take those, thank you.
Well done, Miller. Good idea to disguise yourself as a ponce.
This is my best suit.
What's going on here?
You're under arrest.
Oh, my God.
And what's in here? More of the same, eh?
There's that snake again.
A busy reptile.
And a wee red book. A client list, perhaps. The ones that sell on.
Get the keys to close the shop, sir.
Oh, my God.
Well, well, there's a name to savour.
Gilchrist the apothecary?
Not quite. I'll catch you up.
I'm coming with you.
It's better you stay.
I'm coming with you, sir.
Very well. Miller, take the smut merchant to the station and stick him in a cell. Come on, Mulholland. I'll explain on the way.
Not before time.
Hey, wait.
Hold out your hands.
Oh, what for?
I have to put Sir's cuffs on.
Oh, my God. Business is that poor.
So you bolstered it up, Mr. Weir?
By catering to lechery.
Bob Summers, he dipped in, eh?
His wife's rheumatic.
So he's one of your snufflers. Answer me.
Aye.
But you wouldn't show out here.
No, I went to the back room.
Closed the door every week, regular. And Bob took his time, did you not say?
He was picky.
So for at least 5 minutes, Jeremiah Crichton waited out of your sight. And you wouldn't tell the police that, for it would reveal what you were doing, yes?
I suppose so.
We'll take these as evidence. Keep your mouth shut until called upon.
Inspector, will my name get in the papers?
"5 minutes is enough for Crichton. His own shop nearby, he could have seen Munro leave, doubles back. In he comes, walks behind his wife as if to check the meat, picks up the cleaver. If anyone is passing by, he does nothing. But it's quiet at that time of night, and if the coast is clear, he takes his chance. 3 blows. The blood spurts outwards, no stain. Then back across to Willie Weir's, wait on the doorstep. Out comes his alibi. With a pocket full of vinery.
Possible, but what's his motive?
That I do not yet know. And James Munro, where does he come into this? He hides something. 3 hours. Where was he?
A thought occurs.
Yes?
Some fish prefer the worm, others the fly.
I will die in this heat. Elucidate.
James Munro. If only you'd said before.
Well, I've said it now.
It might be the hidden thing, as it were.
Mulholland!
Brace yourself, sir.
The Tarry Breeks, a sailor's pub down by the docks. Do you know it, James?
Why?
It attracts a certain clientele.
Brethren of the Fly.
What?
Men who prefer their own kind.
Wednesday night. You were there, James.
I cannot say.
No shame. Look at Mulholland. He doesn't mind.
What?
Best tell the truth, James.
I did not want them to know.
Who?
My mother. My father.
But the accusation of murder.
I'm innocent.
You must tell me all, James. Between you and Mrs. Crichton, if not Hochmagandy, then something else. What?
She trusted me. We were friends.
Go on.
She was terrified of his jealousy.
Why did you not say this before?
Who would believe me? She said he had fixed his distrust upon me also.
For the sudden fecundity.
There was no betrayal. She'd done her duty by him. A good wife. It happened. He should have been glad, but she was terrified. She said he watched her. She wrote it down.
What?
A book. A diary, she told me. She wrote.
Where is it?
I never saw it. She said she kept it close by, secret. A book hidden by other books, she said. Poor soul. God pity her.
Do you believe him?
Possible. It would explain the violence of the attack. Crichton then robs the till. Munro gets the blame for that and the murder, both his objects of jealousy removed in one fell swoop.
Without the diary, you lack any proof.
As regards Munro, I have you to thank.
'Twas nothing much.
You have other pursuits beside fishing, eh?
I do not. A friend of mine, his bachelor night, to be married the next day. We ended up in this tavern. There were many shenanigans, but I had no part in them.
Of course not. A man among men.
I saw young Munro in the corner with another fella. They were affectionate. I take my boots to his father's shop these many years.
I believe you. I believe you. Ah, well. I'm away home. Good night.
Are you not coming to the station?
Oh, I'm puggled with the heat. I need my bed. See you in the morning.
In the morning?
Yes.
And you're away home?
That's me. Good night. And Mulholland.
What?
Trust me. Nothing to be ashamed of.
But I...
His jealousy grows every day stronger, like an evil canker in the soul. I am innocent, but it does me no good. He suspects me impregnated by the devil in the form of young James Munro.
He hates the friendship between James and myself, and is tormented by a morbid obsession which feeds upon itself. I believe he is mad. I fear the outcome of that madness.
What are you doing here?
Reading. Why aren't you at the tavern?
I was upstairs, playing.
Where are you now? This is a diary your wife kept. It was concealed by a false bottom in the drawer of her ledger desk. A book hidden by other books.
What's that to me?
In it she names you as an evil, jealous and cruel maniac with murder on his mind.
It is a fabrication.
We'll compare the writing.
How can I murder? I have an alibi.
I have broken it. While Summers slivered over his 40s, you had 5 minutes out of sight. Time enough to kill.
How did you get in here?
The door flew open at my touch, and see. It does again.
That book is my property. Give it back.
I think not.
Then take it, take it! Ravings. Nothing but ravings. I know the truth.
And what is that?
Carnality. Atween them. I smelt it. Sly looks, leaning together, legs sliding, hands grab, a pair of dirty beasts. She lay with him. And see what happened. And see that's why he slaughtered, fine and dandy, chopped at the neck, a strong right hand, chop and chop, till the blood came spouting.
You'll make a rare witness at your trial, Mr. Crichton.
Munro will be tried, no me.
We'll see.
I have the just cause.
Your wife was innocent. So is Munro.
Carnality. I smelt it.
You smelt the stink of your own jealousy. We'll meet at trial, Mr. Crichton. But until then, God damn you to hell.
What about the diary?
I left it at the Haymarket desk, marked to Inspector Dunsmore from Auntie Beanie.
Beg pardon?
A private joke.
Most amusing. You could have brought it to me.
I have crossed enough boundaries as it is.
You've done well. Haymarket cannot deny the diary. Doubt cast on Crichton's alibi. The whereabouts on that night of James Munro established. The boy will not be charged.
What about Crichton? Will he be tried?
I doubt it. Too circumstantial.
In a witness box, he may incriminate himself.
Not with the right coaching. Anyhow, the main thing is, we have won.
The main thing is, Mrs. Crichton's death could go unavenged. The devil has won.
Yes, of course.
Papa is waiting.
I arrive, cara mia.
Very well.
Cara mia? That's Italian.
My mother's side. Over there I am Luigi.
And are you often over there?
Now and again.
Louis. Luigi. So when you're over here, you're in disguise.
I suppose so.
That must help in your profession.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your invaluable assistance in this matter.
I leave you with your thanks, Mr. Spencer.
It might be a blessing, no trial.
Why?
If there was one, Munro's sexual propensities would be revealed. Were I Crichton's advocate, I would hammer on that fact.
What's that to do with justice?
Nothing. But it would cloud the mind of the jury. Good night, Inspector.
Something stick in your craw, sir?
Have you been following me this night?
How could I do that and you so alert?
You thought I might be in danger?
After you left, Crichton picked up a cleaver and hacked a cow to pieces.
With any luck, his mind will do the same to him.
With any luck.
Come on, Mulholland. I'll buy you a drink.
What did you find out, sir?
Enough to clear the boy. Jean Brash has a lover. I know who he is. And I also know how much I despise the educated class who pounce on justice.
One thing, on the bright side.
What?
The clouds. A fine black gathering.
You're right. Not before time.
She's no happy.
Because we've lost the heat.
She's no saying.
It must be that.
I wouldna know. There's the door, I'm no going in.
Jean? I come bearing gifts. Jean?
Late last night, a letter was pushed under the house door of a friend of mine. It was addressed to his wife, and so she read it.
Perfectly in order.
It accused him of dalliance with another.
Another what?
Woman, what do you think?
You never know these days.
The wife holds the purse strings, she keeps the children, the house. He is left with the disgrace.
So, he severs the dalliance.
This very morning, the miserable coward.
Better off without him.
But who was the informer?
Peruse the handwriting.
The letter was ripped to pieces.
Oh dear. Well, let us theorise. It might have been any interested party.
No one knew. Some may have suspected.
What about the dalliance herself? Seeking to provoke a situation where the husband had to choose between one and the other.
That's nonsense.
Oh. It might even have been the husband.
What?
Mesmerism. While he slept at night, his own guilty conscience penned the letter.
Or it might have been you.
Me? I came out of the goodness of my heart, on my way to work, to tell you that your innocent lamb, young Munro, is rescued. I have no interest in who kisses who, only who kills who.
Whom?
What?
Who kills whom?
Whom, then? You flatter yourself that I give a damn about what you do with a body nurtured on the common wages of sin.
A lot of words for such a lack of interest.
You mourn a passion. That is not love.
How would you know?
I see the results and draw my conclusions.
You may leave now.
I am delighted to do so. Are you praying, Anna?
Just looking out the window.
It was you, was it not?
I canna write.
Who said anything about writing? Not Jean, I'll warrant. She holds things deep. One of my constables saw you late last night, heading towards the high houses of Leith. Stop at a door, genuflect. You can write well enough, eh?
Louis Spencer. That dirty dog.
Go on, Hannah.
The man's insatiable. He was seeing a young wagtail I know in Adam Street. Boasted to her. One of the premier madams in the city, says he, I have her dangling.
You could have gone to Jean.
Would you tell her?
From a distance.
Aye, right. But later, it was all I could think. I knew he wouldn't have the guts to quit his wife. I can't believe I was so stupid-minded.
You did what you thought was best.
No, I mean, been witnessed. A constable as well, I'm only getting dotery.
There was no witness.
What?
A bluff. Fishing. A craft I'm learning.
You're a swine, McLeavy.
All's well that ends well, Hannah. Charlie is my darling, my darling, my darling. Charlie is my darling, a young chevalier.
Hannah, bring me some cold beef and a bottle of wine.
Any particular brew?
So long as it's not Italian.
So I thought I better confess ere the deluge of blame from Haymarket descends. I stand before you naked and defenceless, sir.
You disobeyed my orders.
Justice ordered different.
I am your commanding officer.
The wrong man was in the frame.
Haymarket will decide the right and wrong.
They have my blessing.
If they make complaint, I have no option. An official reprimand, it will go on your record, James.
To join its brothers.
You will never rise above Inspector.
I will remain an honest man.
Report from Adam Dunsmore, sir.
I told you so, McLeavy.
Oh, no complaint, Lieutenant.
What?
Acting on provided information, the inspector this very morning went to interview Jeremiah Crichton. He found the man demented.
Demented?
Spewing forth words, insensible to question, and bleeding from cuts he had inflicted on his own right hand and arm.
If thy right hand offend thee...
This is your doing, McLeavy.
This is his own guilt and madness.
But it might be a ploy, sir.
How so?
To escape trial, a feigned insanity.
Good point, Mulholland.
You two would drive a lesser man to drink. Get out of my sight. Get out! And here is another point. I have my station inspection in 10 minutes. God help the pair of you if I find one mote of dust.
The lieutenant's not very pleased.
I believe you're right. Now, let us to my desk and do what we can to repair the ravages of neglect, dust and grime before... It is a palace.
It took 3 constables most of yesterday.
I feel almost unworthy.
You may sit down, sir, but don't touch anything for the next 10 minutes.
Why not?
Because I know you, and where you go, chaos follows.
Mulholland, you're almost as deep a thinker as myself.
I do my best, sir.
Mulholland was wrong about one thing, though. Dementia. That of Crichton. It increased to the point where his residence is now a small room in a large asylum. Hell mend him, as my mother was wont to say. His mind could not bear the enormity of the crime committed, and it broke. Things break. The weather, Jean Brash's love affair, a guilt-stricken mind. But the event left me with a curious question. In the pursuit of justice, whose side was I on? Not Lewis Spencer, who would bend the rules to win the day, not Lieutenant Roach, who would follow them like a blind man follows the tapping of his own stick, not Dunsmore with his clean lines and the Haymarket station. I am down to the dregs of my coffee, and it comes to me that I am on the side of the unavenged, the restless sleepers. I take their part, acknowledging no other authority. Yet I am at the same time the servant of the crown. Predicament indeed. I am James McLeavy, Inspector of Police. In the east wind I put my trust. We shall hunker out the night together.